One last thing to think about when you think about ideology, and if you noticed when we had the chart up before, there were quite a few of you that were liberal, and there were actually quite a few of you that were populist. There were a fair number that were libertarian, and there were very, very few that were conservative. Understand and think about it like this. This you is basically going to represent your life. When you are young, the general sense is that you are going to be more liberal as a young person than you will be at any other point in your life. And think about it like this. When you're young, you don't really have a good job. When you're young, you really don't have an education. Theoretically, most young people are not necessarily going to be married or have families or things like this. And you're certainly not going to have a lot of bills. So basically what I'm saying is, when you think about it, you as a young person really have nothing that's invested in the system. You've got nothing to protect. You're kind of living your own life, if you will, and you're just kind of figuring things out as you go. Well, basically, if you're this way without a lot of connections, you've got nothing to lose, you're always going to be very, very interested in changing the system. And if you're interested in changing the system, generally speaking, you're going to be more liberal. Now, the funny thing about your life is that if you come down here and you get into the idea of middle age, at this point in your life, you're going to be more conservative in middle age than you are at any other point. Now let me stress something. I'm not saying that everybody that's young is liberal. I'm not saying that everybody that's middle age is conservative. But what I'm saying is, in your younger years, you're going to be more liberal than you will be at any other point in your life. And when you get to your middle age years, you're going to be more conservative. And understand, think about it. When you get into your middle age period, your 30s, your 40s, your 50s even, basically at this point you've got that job. Maybe even it's a pretty damn good job when you think about it. You've got family and kids in theory. Probably you've got a home mortgage and maybe an SUV type of a thing. In other words, you're invested in the system. You can't just pick up and go whenever you want to pick up and go. So the gist of it is that you're going to want to conserve what exists in your life and what exists around your life. Because if there's chaos in the government, then ultimately that's going to affect your mortgage. That's going to affect your job. That's going to affect your relationships. Now, funny thing, it goes back up again at the end. And basically, as you get older, when you think about it, you are indeed going to become liberal again. And again, it goes to this idea of the stake that you have in terms of your life and the system. When you're older, you retire. When you're older, obviously, you don't have that job anymore. Your house is now paid off. Your kids are grown. I'm not saying that old and young are exactly the same, but basically when you think about this, you've got fewer stakes at this point in the system, and you've got more time to be able to vote or complain, depending upon how it is that you look at it. So basically, in old age and young age, you're going to be as liberal as you'll ever be in your life, basically at both of those points. And to kind of illustrate this, think about young people. What is it that young people want? They want legalized drugs. Think about old people at the end. What do they want? They want their legalized drugs paid for. It's basically the exact same thing more often than not. So note on this. As you're more middle age and you've got more things involved in the system, more at stake, you're going to be more conservative. As you get younger or as you get older, indeed, you're going to become more liberal. I'm not saying that everybody younger and older is going to be liberal, just like I'm not saying that everybody at middle age is going to be conservative. I'm only saying that you're going to be more liberal at those points in your life, and you're going to be more conservative than any other point when you're at middle age.